Hey, everybody. My name is Dr. Nathan Thompson with Exemplify Health Center and the Wellness Way, Yorkville. Happy Monday evening. Happy New Year to you. Guys, I know that it's been a long time since I've jumped on here and been live. And so I know that we have a lot of people watching right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know a lot of people have already said hello. Let me say hi to just a couple of people that are watching right now. I know Heidi, it's good to see you. Dennis, his drug of choice is cocaine. Thank you, Dennis, for contributing to the conversation. I know that we have Heidi, Towson, Georgia, Elroy from Abbotsford, British Columbia. Welcome. Appreciate you guys being here. S.L. Hansen from North Dakota as well. We have someone who is watching from the great state of Colorado. And as always, Jackie Rippey. Jackie, so good to see you. Thank you for joining us from Central Oregon. And Eileen from Connecticut. So Eileen, it's good to see you on here. Happy New Year to all of you. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I know it's been a minute since I have done a live broadcast. So I appreciate you guys watching. And we're broadcasting right now to Facebook. We're broadcasting right now to YouTube as well, and also to Rumble, to the platform. So make sure if you are watching that, leave a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. I appreciate it immensely. So where people are watching from. So I'm going to go over a little bit of a controversial subject. Okay. Are carbs your drug of choice? Okay. Are carbs your drug of choice? And this is going to require a little bit of context, but stick with me all the way to the end because I'm going to go over some very important things. And the reason why I wanted to go over this is because starting in January, we started our Meats and Veggies Only Challenge. Sounds pretty simple, meats and veggies only, but I got 19 million questions and also some complaints from it. A very simple concept. People turned it into something that became very complicated. I'm like, okay. And here's what I want to address. If you don't understand the why, then everything is just the rules. And it's hard to remember rules, but it's very easy to understand the why. So I'm going to go over a lot of different things with you tonight. But I know that the title can be very provocative with that. So make sure that you stick with me to the end. I'm going to give you valuable information at the end. And I know that coming up, if you are from the Chicagoland area, you can go up to Dr. Nathan Thompson on Facebook. You'll see those, you'll see pinned at the top. You will see those registration links. Guys, if you aren't handling inflammation first and foremost, you have to do that because you will not lose weight if you are inflamed. Cancer is an inflammatory condition. A lot of cancers that people see has to do with chronic inflammation. Your hormones, your thyroid, chronic joint pain, type 2 diabetes is a inflammatory condition, autoimmune diseases going on. And yes, hormone imbalances, including related to fertility, can be an inflammatory issue. Our next live inflammation event is going to be tomorrow night at 6:00 p.m. here at Exemplify Health Center, the Wellness Way, Yorkville, in Yorkville, Illinois. This is an in-person event. I know that we had a lot of people who they're from a different country and they're registering for an in-person event. We have to reach out to them and tell them, hey, settle your horses. We appreciate you wanting to be here, but this is an in-person event. Here's how you get involved with that. So if you're from the Chicagoland area, then come out to that. I know that we're supposed to have some snow, and it seems nowadays that the forecast of 1 to 2 inches of snow scares people from being here. But guys, please be here on January 9th at 6:00 p.m. It will be worth your while. I don't think that we're supposed to get 12 inches of snow. It's just 3 to 4 inches over 24 hours, which is very slow. I think you guys should just be fine. We also have very good snow removal here in the Chicagoland area. All right. Now, if you are outside, let me just preface this. If you are from outside the Chicagoland area and you are within the United States, then you can watch our webinar, our inflammation webinar. Reason why I want you to do that is you can't come see me. I get it. I understand. However, we can work remotely. And if you register for that webinar, you'll see an on-demand, so you can watch that right now, or you can watch it on Tuesday, or you can watch it on Saturday at a specific time, according to where you are at. So make sure that you have scheduled enough time to be able to watch it. When you follow it all the way through at the end, you'll see a link at the end in order to schedule your one-on-one discovery call with me. Very, very important. But you have to be within the United States. The only reason why we say that, we're not trying to punish you if you live in Canada or Mexico or a different part of the world. It's just very difficult for us to be able to order the tests that we need to be able to ship those out. And then also for you to get what you need after that, to get things shipped from the Wellness Way, to get you what you need to make sure that you have restoration. So if you are from the contiguous 48 states, and also you are outside of Chicagoland area, then follow the link to watch the webinar. You'll see the link at the end to schedule a discovery call at the end of that. So make sure that you do that as well. So thank you guys so much for joining us for Is Sugar or Are Carbs Your Drug of Choice? Now, I want to show you this. This actually comes from YouTube, and yes, you can find it if you do a little bit of searching. This is from the 1995 Aurora Christian Basketball State Championship game. This is me shooting a free throw at 18 years of age. And so if you saw me walk into, a building, you would say, wow, he's tall and he's very skinny. He must be extremely healthy. But I'm going to tell you this, nothing is further from the truth when you look at this picture. Yes, you can see some muscles, but that's not everything. Because here's what you don't know when you look at that picture, okay? I'm going to be very honest and forthright with you. As I look good on the outside, but I was a wreck on the inside. So I was on asthma medication. I suffered a lot with terrible allergies. 1 to 2 times a year, I would have a strep infection, strep throat, ear issues, things like that. At that point, I had been on a lot of antibiotics. And also, I was also, this is the God honest truth. I would drink a 2-liter of soda on the way home from practice because I lived about 30 minutes away. That's how long it took for me to get home. So I would drink a 2-liter of soda on the way home, which was an exorbitant amount of carbs to try to replace. But I was easily eating 500 carbs per day. Okay. And a lot of it was just in white bread, processed sugar, which is not good for you. And if you've watched any of my videos on the immune system and on what processed sugar does to the immune system, there's no wonder that I was so sick, had problems with irritable bowel, had a lot of other issues that are going on. Now, and here's what happened. When I stopped playing competitive basketball, but I kept eating the same, that's when, quite honestly, I got pretty fat. Okay. Yes, I will say that. Because by the time that I was 30 years of age, developing those addictions to foods, I actually, by 30 years of age, flunked my life insurance test. They said, you're too fat and you're too inflamed, and we think you're actually a huge heart attack risk. So no, we're not going to cover you at this prices for life insurance. And so I had to get my life and get my health back under control. And I had to make a lot of changes. And one of the culprits was, in fact, was sugar. Now, sugar, as you'll see from here, sugar wasn't affecting my free throw percentage, but it was affecting a lot of other things in my life. And that's when you would ask someone, if someone thinks that they're healthy based on what they look, even though I looked healthy on the outside, I wasn't, as I was an absolute disaster on the inside. Now, if you guys are part of and you're taking part of the Meat and Veggies Only Challenge, thank you very much for doing that. Yes, I know that it's hard. No doubt about it. It kicked off January 1st. And if you're unsure, it's like, what on earth is it? Then you can go ahead and follow. There should be a post that goes over all the different pictures as far as what it is and what it isn't. I would love for you to start doing that. If you're a little bit late to the party, that's okay. Just get started. Just start from where you are. You'll be able to have 22 days through the rest of January to be able to do it. Now, Are there resources that are there and available? Yes. If you actually join the No Sugar Challenge group on Facebook. So if you go on the Facebook and you look onto No Sugar Challenge, there's a group with about 25,000 people that are in there that are also taking part of it as well. So make sure that you can join that group. It's a free resource. There'll be a ton of resources within that group. You also have the liberty to be able to ask some questions within there too. But the biggest thing that I'm going to tell you is I'm going to tell you the why behind all of it. Because if you understand the why, and you won't think that it's actually a bunch of rules and things like that. Now we're big into doing challenges and help to improve your life, in November, in December. I know that we had 5 minutes of fire. I know that we're doing the meats and veggies only. We want to do another challenge that's going to add value to your life. This is probably going to be in March or April, and it's called a mobility challenge that you will do for the whole entire month. It's very easy. We'll give you specific exercises and mobility drills to do that will take about 10 minutes per day. So about 10 minutes per day. And I guarantee it will help you with your mobility. The whole idea behind it is for you to be able to do an innate movement, which is a squat. So this is an innate movement. This is someone who's done no mobility. They're born with the ability to be able to squat. If you look at a young child, as soon as they're able to walk, they know exactly how to squat, which means it's an innate movement. And the only thing that happens if you can no longer squat, you've thrown away that gift and you have to get it back. So I even put a t-shirt together, which is going to be really awesome and also very fitting for this challenge that's going to be coming up in March and April, called You Don't Know Squat. It's actually showing someone squatting, okay? So you need to be able to squat. If you have bad knees, you need to be able to squat. If you have tight ankles, you need to be able to squat. You need to be able to do that. And we're going to try to get you to that point where you can hold that position easily for minutes and even hang out there for a long period of time. Okay. So that'll be coming up in March or April. We'll give you a lot of resources. There'll be a lot of video demos as far as what you need to do and what you need to go through for 10 minutes. And one of the things that I'm interested in is seeing how people start and then seeing the results at how they finish to look at their improvement. Okay. So it's really, really going to be an awesome challenge. We just need to put everything together. So stay tuned. Make sure that you follow us. Make sure that you share this with other people, because I know that other people will benefit from it as well. Okay. Now let me get into if I talk about are carbs your drug of choice? Okay. Now I want to say this. I don't do this for followers. Okay. Yes, I love everybody that follows me. I appreciate all of you. But in reality, I don't do this for followers. If you decide to unfollow me, I'm fine with that. Okay. But today I'm probably going to say something that's going to offend you. All right. I'm probably going to say something that offends you. And here's why you're offended. You're offended because you actually care about what I think, or you're afraid that it might be true. Okay. Now, this happened on Saturday. I went and checked the comments. I had the nastiest, meanest, most vitriolic comment that I have seen to date. It was just terrible, and I think the guy was just trying to get me pumped up or something like that. I don't know what his intentions were, but it was an extremely mean comment. And he's like, "I'm interested to see what you have to say," and I didn't. I didn't get upset. I just delete and banned this person. And the reason why is because I don't care what he thinks. And I also know that it's what he said was not true. And I want you to think of it. If someone comes to you and says, I don't believe in gravity, I don't believe in gravity, watch, gravity doesn't work, drops a pen and it hits the ground, it's not going to anger you. It's not going to offend you. Probably feel sorry for that person instead. So I'll probably say some things that may cause a little bit of upset, that may offend you a little bit. But I want you guys to remember this, is that no change occurs unless you are first and foremost offended. No change occurs. There has to be something that offends you. Okay. So are carbs, are they your drug of choice? Well, why are you talking about that, Dr. Nate? Well, it has to do with a number of people who told me saying, "Oh, don't take away this or don't take away that, or is this allowed or is this not allowed?" And it got me thinking about the whole idea of sugar and things like that. And this takes me back probably close to, it was well over 10 years ago, where at my church, God bless my pastor, he's like, "Yeah, you know what? I really think this would benefit the people of the church because when we have a potluck, it's nothing but breads and cakes and donuts and just things." And I really do think that our congregation has some health issues that has more to do with eating too much what we would call hyper palatable foods, and everything that they eat must be sweet. He's like, "I'd like for you to give me a recipe list that's going to be no sugar, and we'll do that after our church service." I was so excited. I'm like, "Oh, yes, I think I'm getting through to you. Here's some recipes that would be considered quote unquote no or low in what we would call sugar, no refined carbohydrates, nothing." And I thought people would be overjoyed. And I never saw people more upset, emotional, or angry of having to do that. Mean, negative comments that were directed towards me. And when people made it and they ate, they're like, "Oh my gosh, this actually tasted good." Um, and so that's when I started to discover that if it makes you mad, angry, or emotional, then yeah, you probably have some kind of addiction to it. So what am I going to go over with you tonight? I'm going to go over with you this. Number one, let's answer the question, is sugar addictive? Okay. Is it sugar addictive? Number two, let's go over the idea of what are hyper palatable foods. And I'm going to explain to you very easily what a hyper palatable food is and why it's very hard to eat that in moderation. I'm going to go over a hormone that's known as leptin. That's the hunger hormone. And then I'm also going to give you the why behind Meats and Veggie Challenge. And I'm also going to go over with you, here's some labs that you should be looking at as well. Okay. Now, which one would you rather have? Would you rather have the nice plate of broccoli? Let me see if I can bring that up. Or would you rather have a plate similar in size of Oreo cookies? Okay. Which one would you rather have? And I'll answer that question. You know which one I would rather have from a desire standpoint? The Oreo cookies. I don't care. They might even be organic, they might be gluten-free, but they're still going to be very fattening. The reason why you say, "Oh, I would love the broccoli," you don't want the broccoli. The reason why you say the broccoli is because you know better and you know that that would be the correct answer. But you have to be honest, which one would you rather have? If if anyone didn't know any better about which one would be better or worse for you, then every person would be checking this, that they would say, "I would actually rather have this food, this plate of Oreos, more than I would rather have this plate of broccoli." Here's the thing, this will have thousands and thousands of calories, especially in the form of processed carbs and fat. And this will be um, carbs as well, but there'll be a lot of fiber that's attached to it. And this one will probably be about 150 calories, and this one will probably be 1,500 calories. And they'll probably make both of them just as full. Okay. So, which one would you rather have? Well, here is the result of eating consistently over on the right: weight gain, fatty liver, type 2 diabetes, hormone issues because it causes a fatty liver, and then also big problems when it comes to menopause. Now, the people that I have seen clinically who have the biggest problem with menopause are the ones who do, in fact, have an issue with their liver, fatty liver, and blood sugar issues as well. Have you ever noticed why two people can go through menopause? One's fine, the other one has a heck of a time with it. It's the same transition, but why do people have such a change? And it has to do with how well they're processing, metabolizing, and excreting their hormones. And the liver does a job when it comes to that. So if you have weight gain, fatty liver, type 2 diabetes, hormone issues, then I guarantee you, if you don't get those under control, you're going to have a really bad day, especially when it comes to menopause. So let's first answer this question: is sugar addictive? The answer is yes. Okay. Now, this comes from an article, Healthline. Experts agree sugar might be as addictive as cocaine. Here's what they say in the article. So this comes from Cassie Bork. who is a registered dietitian, founder of Healthy Simple Life, states that sugar can be even more addicting than cocaine. Sugar activates the opiate receptors in our brain and affects the reward center, which leads to compulsive behavior despite the negative consequences like weight gain, headaches, hormone imbalances, and more. Bork adds, every time we eat sweets, we are reinforcing these neural pathways, causing the brain to become increasingly hardwired to crave sugar, building up a tolerance like any other drug. Okay. Indeed, research on rats from Connecticut College has shown that Oreo cookie activates more neurons in the pleasure center of the rat's brain than cocaine does. And just like humans, the rats would rather eat the filling first. And a 2008 Princeton study found that rats may become dependent on sugar, that this dependency could be related to several aspects of addiction, which is cravings, which is binging, and then also withdrawal. I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to give you my opinion. Okay. Now, anytime that you try to do anything that is lowering the amount of sugars, we'll always have some people chime in that they may be a registered dietitian or they may be some kind of lifestyle coach or something like that. And they say this, you have to do everything in moderation, because if you don't, then it's going to lead to more cravings, it's going to lead to binging, and it's going to lead to severe withdrawal. And if that's happening consistently, then there may be, then carbs may be your drug of choice. Have you ever seen this where people say, oh, I don't drink, I don't smoke, but they go to Casey's every morning to get 6 donuts and, and a bunch of sugar. And I'm like, okay, that's you may not have a problem with alcohol, you may have a problem with smoking, you may have a problem, but you have a problem with sugar. And in fact, how you know that, what reinforces that addiction, if you know that it's doing bad for your health, and yet you have a really hard time stopping, even though that you know that it's bad for your health, that it's causing some really bad things in order to happen. Here's what she further goes on to say. In fact, one survey found that high calorie sweeteners are in over 95% of granola bars, cereals, and sugar sweetened beverages, most in the form of corn syrup, sorghum, and cane sugar. Okay. Now, here's what she goes on to say. The problem is that we aren't meant to enjoy sugars in such concentrated amounts. And she's absolutely right. In nature, sugar is found surrounded by fiber in cane sugar and fruits. It naturally comes in a container that produces a shorter blood sugar response and aids in fullness. Today's sugars are refined and concentrated, meaning they are stripped away of the fiber, and it causes a very high blood sugar response. It floods the bloodstream with sugar, and that sugar has to go somewhere. So Caspero also adds, the good news is we can adapt our taste buds to accept less sugar. Reducing sugar, especially concentrated sugars, not only limits the amount of sugars ingested, but also makes less sweet foods seem sweeter. Now, how many of you have done this? Give me an amen if you've done this. How many of you have gone through a whole entire month of the no sugar challenge? You go and try to consume something sweet, and it just, you can't do it. It's way too sweet. So don't have a Coke for 30 days. Go and try to consume it, and it'll be way too sweet for you. See, the problem is we are trained to consume foods that are extremely sweet. And so when we consume things that might be naturally sweet, it doesn't produce the same buzz as it would with foods that are processed with tons of sugar that are in it. Okay. Now, which one would you rather have? Okay. And I'm still going to tell you, I still want the plate of Oreos. Okay. Doesn't mean that I'm going to do it, but I still want the plate of Oreos. Why do you still want the plate of Oreos? It's not a problem with you. Our bodies are built for survival. Okay. So our bodies are built for survival, but what we have built inside our brain is to know if something is hurting us or not. Other animals, you give them a plate of food, you set it down, they're just going to eat it. And then they're going to want more. And that's why, it's very easy for your feline friends to be very overweight and obese, because they don't see that there's a consequence with being that way. Our bodies are built for survival. It always wants the easiest and most available food. That's how we're built. And it will also gravitate towards the things that are the most convenient as well. Okay. So our bodies are built for survival. So if withdrawing from a particular food produces an emotional response, guess what? Then you're probably addicted to it. Now, people have asked me this question, Dr. Nate, would you ever eat McDonald's? And the answer is 100% yes. Yes, I would. I did a video about a guy who lost a tremendous amount of weight by actually eating McDonald's. But people say, would you ever eat McDonald's? I say 100% yes, I would. Here's a scenario is that if I was starving on an island for 30 days, hadn't eaten anything, and you come along in your tugboat and you're like, hey, I have some chicken nuggets in here from McDonald's. Are you going to eat them? I say, absolutely. Because at that point, I need something to put into my body in order to help me sustain life. I'm not going to say, oh, no, thanks. I heard that these are bad for me. I'm not going to eat them. Eating them once is not going to kill you. It's repeatedly doing it over and over and over again. So I'll eat that McDonald's. I'll make some better choices once I get back to the mainland. But too many times people become, in the process, they become an absolute food Nazi. And guess what? No one likes a food Nazi. No one. They don't. Okay. They don't like a food Nazi. They don't like you looking at them out of the top of their eyes and looking down on them because they decide that they want to eat. And in fact, it changes no one, by the way. It changes no one. So is sugar addictive? The answer is yes, that it is. And if you, the first thing to do is just be honest with yourself and say, hey, are you an addict? And then in that case, then you have the impetus to be able to change. The second thing I want to go over with you too is why people are addicted to so much food. And it has to do with hyper palatable food. It's a big word, which means extremely good tasting food. And here's what it comes from Wikipedia. Hyperpalatable food combines high levels of fat, sugar, sodium, or carbohydrates to trigger the brain's reward system, encouraging excessive eating. So there's a lot of food that's out there that encourages excessive eating. The concept of hyperpalatability is foundational to ultra processed foods, which are usually engineered to have enjoyable qualities of sweetness, saltiness, or richness. Hyperpalatable foods can stimulate the release of metabolic stress and appetite hormones that play a role in cravings and may also interfere with the body's ability to regulate appetite and also the feelings of fullness or satiety. So do they exist? The answer is yes, 100%. Hyperpalatable foods, which they don't occur in nature, what would they be? Here's some good examples. Cake, ice cream, chocolate, pretzels, popcorn, crackers, things like that. These are considered processed or also hyper palatable foods. Let me ask you a question. Do you ever want to eat these things moderately? Just like I showed you a plate of Oreos, and then I also showed you a plate of broccoli. One is not processed. The other one is processed. It's hyper palatable. You eat one, you want to eat 19 of them. And we're talking about the Oreos. Do you ever just eat one, or do you ever, once you have one, you want to have 17 of them? Do you ever eat these moderately? Okay. This is why, guys, moderation is so stupid. Okay. I'm going to say it. I'm probably going to offend you. If you're a grandma out there that's saying moderation is, you need moderation, tell me exactly what moderation is. The people who are saying that moderation, everything in moderation, are usually the people who are struggling with it the most. I'm sorry, but that's just true. Moderation is stupid. It would be like if I went home and I went to my wife tonight and I said, honey, today I'm going to love you very moderately. Not too much, just moderately. Okay. You can't have too much of a good thing, but you can have too much of a bad thing. Moderation is stupid because you can't just eat one. Here's the problem too with moderation. Moderation, when you look at moderation, you look at what is moderate based off of who you're hanging around with. And if you're hanging around with a bunch of fat diabetics, sorry, but if you're hanging around that, then moderation takes on a whole new meaning than as someone who was actually not doing that at all. So you see, moderation is basically contingent on who you were hanging around. If you look here in the United States and you look at people getting fatter and fatter, moderation takes on a whole new role. And the whole idea of moderation now is going to be completely different than what it was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago as well. Okay. Ultra processed foods. This comes from PubMed. This is a recent article from 2023, May 10th. So about 7 to 8 months ago. Ultra processed food intake is associated with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in adults, a systemic review and meta-analysis. Okay. So they actually say that it's associated with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now, they used to call it alcoholic fatty liver disease because really the only reason why people had fatty liver was because of too much alcohol, because the liver had to metabolize that. Now the leading cause of fatty liver is in fact non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Gene, that would be a great new t-shirt theme. Moderation is stupid. Thank you very much for the idea. I'll consider that. So, ultra processed food is the culprit. So, guys, when we say get off of processed food, quit begging me that you need your processed food, because honestly, you can live without it. Okay. So it begs the question too, why am I so hungry? But why am I so hungry? I do this and I'm so hungry. Well, it has to do with this. It has to do with the hormone that's known as leptin. Okay. Now, what makes leptin? Your fat cells do. This is a hormone that was discovered probably about 30 years ago. Excuse me, when they discovered this hormone, leptin is called the satiety hormone. So when your body produces fat, fat releases leptin, and it's supposed to go to your brain and say, hey, I have enough energy in reserves. It's time for me not to be hungry. So initially they thought, oh, if I keep giving you more and more of leptin, then you'll shut it down. And this is one of the reasons why, if you've ever said, I don't know why this person why can't they stop eating? It has to do with the hormone that's known as leptin. Leptin is specifically leptin resistance, or inability to be able to hear that hormone in the brain to stop eating. So what is leptin? Leptin is a hormone that helps manage energy. It signals your brain when you need food and when you feel full. But leptin resistance can cause the brain to miss a signal, which may contribute to obesity. Okay. So what is leptin resistance? Leptin resistance is a condition that affects signaling between your fat cells and your brain, meaning your brain doesn't hear that signal anymore. It's been associated with several health conditions like high risk of infections. Gee, I wonder who had a highest risk of getting bowled over by COVID. It was the people who had the high amount of fat, which was causing leptin resistance. It creates, and in fact, guys, it can create inflammation. Okay. Now, fat cells are inflammatory in and of themselves. So that's why it can lead to autoimmune diseases. It can lead to malnutrition and also inflammation. Most notably, leptin resistance is recognized as a major biological contributor to obesity. And you would think that medicine would have an answer, but instead you have all of these Mercedes 80s doctors that are going on that would rather cut your stomach and reroute your stomach and make you or take a bunch of a GLP-1 agonists like Manjaro or something like that, and try to trick your brain into thinking that it's actually full and messing up your gastrointestinal system, and also causing all kinds of insulin resistance in the same way. Most notably, leptin resistance is recognized as a major biological contributor to obesity. People with obesity have many fat cells because fat cells produce leptin in proportion to their size. People with obesity also have very high levels of leptin. When's the last time that your doctor has actually measured your leptin levels? So normally these high levels of leptin signal your brain to that enough energy is stored and it's time to stop eating. However, in leptin resistance, your brain is less sensitive or fails to recognize the signaling process. So people who are leptin sensitive are the people who tend to graze and who tend to eat and don't know when to shut it off. There's no signal anymore. Okay. So what is the answer to overcoming leptin resistance? Become more leptin sensitive. And how do you do that? You have to lose body fat. So best way to lose body fat? Stop eating so much hyper palatable or processed foods. It's a hormone that will make you always feel hungry. Now, the thing is I want you to understand this. Hormones will never make you eat. And in fact, it's been fun coming back from the holidays, coming back from Christmas, and you would be amazed at how many people are like, "Oh, Dr. Nate, I felt right off track because it was the holidays." And you know what I told them? I said, "So the holidays put a gun up to your head and force you to eat." They're like, "No, it didn't do that." I was like, "So the holidays force you to eat anything?" No, but you had the opportunity and you chose to do something that was not good for your health. Hormones don't ever make you eat. They'll make you want to eat. And what they want you to do is to constantly graze and constantly snack. Okay. So the more body fat you have, more leptin that you're going to have over time, you'll become leptin resistant. And there's no shutoff mechanism, which is why people continue to gain weight more and more and more because they want to. So now that you guys have an understanding of this, now when we say, hey, it's the meats and veggie only challenge, does that make sense why we say, hey, get rid of processed foods, get rid of anything with added sugars? Alcohol's not helping you. Grains aren't helping you either because most grains that you are eating are processed grains. Get rid of fruit. You mean to tell me that I shouldn't have fruit? Yes, you didn't become diabetic because of fruit. You came diabetic because of hyper palatable processed foods. And you get to a point where the fruit is not helping you at that point. Soda, okay? Like a 2 liter of soda on your way home from basketball practice. It's not good for you, all right? Things like almond flour crackers or quinoa, anything that's gluten-free. Guys, gluten-free can still make you fat, just as an FYI. Gluten-free is still a highly processed food. It's a little bit better than eating gluten, especially if you have a food allergy to it. And people say, well, gluten-free is expensive. I'm like, it's expensive because it's highly processed. That's the reason why. And then also dairy. So when people say dairy, well, what's the main sugar in dairy? And it's lactose. Okay. That's the main sugar when it comes to dairy. Okay. So foods to enjoy, all veggies. Okay. All meat. Bone broth is great. And anything with a GI under 55 is going to be the best things for you. The reason why the glycemic index under 55, the reason why that's a good number is because there's going to be a lot of fiber that's attached to the sugar associated with it. Okay. So it's a very slowly digested carbohydrate. Now, how much protein should you be getting? Typically, we say 1 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body mass. Now, if you're a little bit more overweight, this is why this is important to know what your body fat percentage is. It's very important. What is your body fat percentage? Because the more body fat you have, typically you don't need protein to sustain body fat, but you do need protein in order to sustain muscle mass. You also need protein in order to sustain your immune system, and you need protein in order to help sustain your muscles and organs and things like that. These things are made of protein. So if you weigh 225 pounds, you're probably going to be about 100 kilograms, which is about at what I am at. And that means that I should be having at least 100 to 200 grams of protein per day. And usually I'm at about 125 to 130. I probably could always get a little bit more. Proteins are the toughest thing in order for the stomach to break down. That's why stomach acid is so important. That's also why you don't want to be dumping a bunch of protein in your system, especially after you're getting into fight or flight by doing some kind of workout or something like that. Okay. So this helps to explain. This is the why behind when we say meats and veggies. Guys, you can also follow the Wellness Way No Sugar Challenge group. It's wonderful resources, and things like that. Now, what about labs? Here's some great labs in order to look at. Okay. I had a patient who came to me and he said, doctor looked at his labs. And he's like, oh, those are good labs to get. And he looked at the doctor and he said, why didn't you order those for me? Because I've been a diabetic for 20 years. Why didn't you order these labs? Reason why he didn't order those labs because he has nothing to do with it. He can't do anything when these labs are abnormal because he can't give him any kind of medication. So what are some great lab markers in order to look at? A1C is great because it's measuring your 90-day blood sugar average. It's measuring damage to your red blood cells, okay? And also look at your insulin levels. You should also be looking at your CRP, which is basically inflammatory level. Also look at leptin. So you should be measuring your leptin levels. People with high leptin levels sustained for a long period of time have a really hard time when to shut off eating, especially. You should know your body fat percentage. That's why even today we did a couple of in-bodies on people in order to look at their body fat percentage. Guys, the best way to look at body fat percentage is either go underwater, do a DEXA scan. We don't have that ability to be able to do it. So we're going to do the next best thing then. And then also look at a comprehensive metabolic profile, which usually your doctor runs that every single year. And you want to look at that in order to see if you have some elevated liver enzymes, because when it does, it can indicate that you're not detoxing very well. The liver is under a lot of stress as well. So I want to read this to you. This is called Fitness in 100 Words. And it says this: Eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. Keep intake levels that will support exercise, but not body fat. Practice and train major lifts, deadlift, squat, clean, squat, presses, clean and jerk, and snatch. Similarly, master the basics of gymnastics, pull up, dips, rope climb, push ups, sit ups, presses to handstand, pirouettes, flips, splits, and holds, bike, run, swim, row, etc. Hard and fast. 5 or 6 days per week, mix these elements in as many combinations and patterns as creativity will allow. Routine is the enemy. Keep workouts short and intense, regularly learn and play new sports, which I'm in the process of doing because we put on our basketball court, we put, what is that called when you play? It's like mini tennis, because that's what I'll be playing in the summertime, hopefully, as well. So this is what I want you guys to remember. This is eat meats and veggies, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. Keep the intake to levels that will support exercise, but not body fat. And if you haven't been doing that, then it's time to get back into it, especially. And I love this quote from Greg Glassman, who is the founder of CrossFit, by the way. He's got a lot of great quotes. He said this: stick to the basics. And when you feel you've mastered them, it's time to start all over again. Begin anew, again with the basic. This time, pay closer attention. Okay. So this is why we always talk about the basics, about mastering the basics. And once you feel like you've mastered them, go back, learn them again, pay a little bit more attention because you're going to pick up some new things. This is why I've been working on my squat for the last 12 or 13 years, trying to get it better. You never, ever have mastered something unless you have repeatedly gone over the basics. Okay. So guys, pickleball, that's what it is. Thank you so much, Jackie. So guys, this is why coming up on Tuesday, January 9th at 6:00 p.m., this is why we're doing our in-person inflammation talk. If you have not registered for it, please get registered for it. Tuesday night, 6:00 p.m., January 9th. We're going to have it. The weather is going to be fine. So make sure that you are there as well. And if you're from out of the Chicagoland area, but within the continental 48 states, watch the webinar on inflammation. If you want to work with us remotely, make sure you watch it all the way to the end. You'll see a link in order to schedule a consult. And that's how people say, how do I work with you? Just do that. Okay. That's how you work specifically with us as well, and our Wellness Way approach. So are carbs your drug of choice? Yes, they are, if you keep doing it with bad results. So be honest with yourself. Are carbs your drug of choice? Yes. And when you take them away, if it makes you emotional, and chances are this probably is related to an addiction. Best of luck to you. So guys, be well, be blessed. Make sure that you share this video. I'll be hopping live next week as well. Appreciate and love all of you. Guys, be well, be blessed. And as always, remember who you are. Thanks.